So, the other day when I was sitting at the comic book store and I was like working and I was noticing that nobody was coming in to buy comic books, and even when people came in, they didn't buy comic books, and I was like, I'm kind of almost useless as a member of a comic book store because people aren't coming in to buy comics. And then I was like, well, then what's the meaning of my entire life? And I was like, oh my god, this isn't what I'm doing for my entire life, is it? And then I was just like, okay, no. Because even if you do accomplish whatever you want to do, if you figure out you don't want to be a comic book store guy and you want to go on somewhere else, it doesn't matter because you're a fucking loser and no one will ever love you and your hair's fucking falling out and you're all furry everywhere else. And fucking, even let's say that you were managed to become like the most successful fucking person in the world, but it wouldn't fucking matter, would it? Because there's still fucking children starving in Africa, and there's still Malaysian children who's having to make all of our clothes in little sweatshops and shit, and the fucking oil reserves are going fucking empty, and I just had a total fucking existential meltdown, and then I knew I knew we were gonna watch I Heart Huckabees after that. We're watching I Heart Huckabees.
Skit.
Yeah, because that didn't really happen to me. I Heart Huckabees was originally released in 2004, rated R, coming in at 107 minutes, is classified as comedy. It's directed by David O. Russell, written by David O. Russell and Jeff Benia. It stars Jason Schwartzman, Isabel Herpert, Dustin Hoffman, Lily Tomlin, Jude Law, Mark Wahlberg, and Naomi Watts, just to name a few. Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again, and I am joined, as always, by
Bree.
An old man Logan.
And today, as you saw, we're going to be watching and discussing I Heart Huckabees, a film that I first discovered when I was in college in philosophy class. The film is about Jason Schwartzman, who plays a character named Albert, who begins to have an existential crisis due to a unprecedented coincidence in his life, or seemingly. So he goes to a group of existential detectives to see if they can like untangle his coincidence, and then from there everything spirals off into like philosophical insanity. So guys, what'd you think about the movie?
It's great. It hit me in my brain in a lot of places that usually when I go to they hurt, but it made me laugh, which is like hard to do in that way. I don't know. It's really great. If you're a head hurting person, like you got problems up there a little bit. Good movie.
It's funny in a weird way. It's a weird movie.
It's quirky.
Yes. It's very quirky, but it doesn't like not want me to watch it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it kind of pulls you in and you start listening to conversations, and then like there's points that are the comedic points that like someone says something after a philosophical thing like, the fuck are you talking about? And you're like, that's me, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And like it's funny because you're like, yo, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
although I would actually say that like the movie's even good for, I think the movie's good for healthy people as well, because a lot of the things in the movie that you kind of associate with people who are all fucked up here are things that happen to everybody all the time, but like most people either don't have the self-awareness to really let it go that far, or they just are in general happy enough that they don't really pay much attention to it.
Oh yeah, there's definitely things in that you're like, okay.
But specifically, like Schwartzman's opening thing where he was doing what I was doing, and our opening thing where it's just like, fuck me, I'm a loser, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what are my poems doing? My poems suck. I should quit. And all this kind of stuff. Like, that feels, I think, is very, like, pretty much, that's the scene where even despite all the swearing and stuff, I feel like anybody who watches that opening right there can definitely relate to that.
Been there.
Yes.
And the frantic
in
nature.
Your car on the way to work.
Like the frantic nature of it, where like 90% of the day you're fine, but there's like that little 10% here and there where you're just like freaking out, panicked, like because most of us don't know what the fuck we're doing.
No. Working our same shitty job in this shitty life.
You work jobs you hate to buy shit you don't need.
Amen, brother.
So says Tyler Durden. So what would you say was your favorite thing in the movie?
Probably actually every single time, because he does it multiple times. Albert like kind of gets away from everybody and just has a screaming fit with himself. Very relatable.
Yeah.
On any level. Just hit home really hard.
Mark Wahlberg, dude. Like, he's so funny. Like,
he's so funny. and he never plays it like it's a joke.
Oh, he doesn't. Yeah,
Like,
it feels like it's like
committed.
one of his first movies. You know, like it just because he goes in there with this like at a 10 serious.
Yeah.
And you're like, who is this guy?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's these completely ridiculous scenes, but he plays them without a hint of irony,
Yeah.
where, like, he believes the shit he's saying, he believes it's a problem, and he can't cope with it. And, again, his sense of, like, frantic, like, struggling to understand is extremely relatable, while it's completely ridiculous and over the top to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But,
like, even when, like, in some of the scenes where, like, he's just calm, and he's, like, he's just an asshole. like, he's not frantic or anything. He's just, like... Oh yeah, like hits you in the face.
Yeah.
Like I'm Mark Wahlberg, motherfucker.
who knew Mark Wahlberg could play an asshole?
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know.
Anyway.
My favorite thing in the movie, like there's a lot of, okay, the movie's great, full of great things, but there's one moment in the movie that is always just spoken to me, and that is the moment when Naomi Watts really angrily leans in and whispers, "Huckabees." She doesn't scream it at the top of her lungs. She doesn't make an even
like
bigger
the
scene.
corporate prez or whatever.
Yeah.
Just calm as fuck.
I mean, she's pissed. She's
Yeah, no,
seething.
clearly.
But she leans in and just, "Huckabees." And then he's like, go stop her. She said "Huckabees."
That's the worst thing she could do. She said "fuck bees."
Yeah. And she's wearing a bonnet at the time while she's doing it, like an Amish-style bonnet and overalls.
And then, like, he goes to find her, and she's laying down in, like, some random fucking office.
some empty office, but
or kitchen. Yeah, it's just...
that is my favorite thing, just because that moment never stops being funny to me, and it personifies her existential crisis so perfectly, where she's so angry she can barely contain it, but it still comes out as a polite whisper, even though she's telling basically saying "fuck you," you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, that is such a perfect encapsulation of her character at that moment. Like, it's
so eloquently.
just too good.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, so with that out of the way, what was your least favorite thing in the film?
The beginning of... Well, okay, no. The whole sex scene was a little weird.
Okay.
With the dunking in the mud and the... It was weird. It was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Go back and watch our previous episode
Stop.
of what she's talking about in it, and then come back here to where she says it's weird. But
Don't
okay,
blame me.
fairness, sex scene was weird. Cool.
I mean, oh my god.
That we didn't like, not what was weird. I mean, and it's not his fault. That means he did his job. But fucking Brad, man, like, dude, and it's only because like I can relate. Like I know a guy like that. You know, you're like, oh, that fucking asshole. I know people like him, and then it's like, that's the biggest thing. It's just he did his job clearly, but I hate him in that movie. Like, straight up. But towards the end, like, when he starts realizing what he did, it's like, see, okay, at least you recognize.
The movie does a good job with, like, the little bit where, like Nick
redemption.
Laura Schwartzman, or, where Home Dude begins to, like, he's like, we're the same, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, after Brad has had everything stripped away from him, then he can see them as equals, and he's like, oh, no, you're posing just as much as me, and pretending just as much as me. And,
it just took me to light your house on fire.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly, for you to have the breakthrough that you need.
Right.
Which also, I should say that scene is great because it sets up it's the payoff to the visual motif of the deconstruction. Which I should have mentioned previously, also probably in my favorite things, but we were just doing one. But because you mentioned it in that moment where, like, you hated Brad, but you kind of start to ease up on him a little bit at the end, which is a really good use of the character arc mixed in with that visual motif of the deconstruction all coming together.
And you also, I feel like before that, I think it's before that, you get that, no, it might be after that, but you get the payoff of, like, they get an honest moment together in the elevator.
Yeah, that's after that.
Yeah, and, like, that's pretty good too.
He's like, I set your jet skis on fire.
Yeah.
And also, I love the little moment where it's just like,
I wanted to cut your face up with a machete, and he's like, yeah, well, I wanted to, like, fuck your face up with a hatchet.
Yeah, and they just start talking about horrible things, horrible ways of murdering. And there's like
people in the
there's these two old ladies on the elevator, just like, oh my god.
It's totally a scene that's been done before, but still,
it was done really, really well.
It was.
really great. Just all the performances were great.
Oh, yeah.
This movie gets beats. Like, it
yeah.
really understands how you should pace things for it to be funny.
Absolutely.
I can really appreciate that.
The movie's very much about timing, which actually is interesting because my least favorite thing about the movie is, and I'm sure it's because, okay, the guy playing the African guy,
Yeah.
I'm sure part of it's because he's probably a real African person who's playing that role, and English may not be his first language, but he's a really bad actor. And it doesn't just come across that he's like trying to speak in another language or foreign,
awkward.
but it comes off as him being a bad actor. Or like maybe the idea is supposed to be that he has PTSD from living in the Sudan where everything's all fucked and like he's just a little like emotionally numb, but there's nothing in the movie to indicate that. So it feels like in a movie full of amazing performances, you have this one dude who just stands out.
Yeah.
And it also, I can't help but think, like, a white dude made this movie, and the only bad actor is a black dude playing an African. It's like, I guess we know what roles he cared about. I'm just joking.
God. What's it rated again?
It's rated R.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, hold on. I actually love...
I was gonna say, well, there's the fucks and all that. Like, I get, like, if it's rated R.
I love the reason it's rated R. For language and a sex scene.
For language and the sex scene you hate. Yeah.
Sex scene
I guess, I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird, yeah. But also, it's weird they don't mention, fucking naked fucking Jude Law tits.
Yeah.
Jude Law shows his tits in this movie. No, there's two of them. There's two of them. It's just framed weirdly.
We get the flash of both.
It's framed weirdly. But yeah, like they put Jude Law in a body prosthetic suit so he could like be a mother giving milk.
Got it.
To Swartz, who's like the
no
little,
prep for that one, by the way. Just tosses you right in.
Yeah. Some of the stuff.
I thought there was like intention for it to be a man tit, but then like
no,
but no.
I didn't know if it was like an actual chick's tit and some issues. Or like
no, it just looks like
it is full booby.
It's a boob that's seen a lot of sunlight. That's all. It's got freckles on it and like like it's a mom tit. Okay, what are you trying to say about mom tits?
Nothing.
You got a problem with mom tits?
Yeah, a lot of mom tits lately.
Jesus, man, fucking misogynist over here with the mom tits.
Man.
It comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just boom right in the face.
Now.
Right in the fucking face.
It's really
Mark
great.
Wahlberg balls in the face.
Yeah, halfway through the movie, like they get fed up with Dustin Hoffman and his wife, who are like their existential detectives. So
everything's connected, man.
Yeah, in the sheet.
It's not.
Everything's connected in the sheet. I'm over here and you're over there, and
Paris is over there.
Paris is over there. There's the Eiffel Tower. See it right there? See me fingering the sheet? See me finger banging the sheet? Because I'm Dustin Hoffman. Get it? It's a joke that's a couple of months old now. He's finger banging the sheet. Anyway, like everything's the same. They get all fed up, so they jump to her competitor, who's this French lady who's all about like human suffering is true existence and pain and emptiness. And like no matter how much happiness or tranquility you try to find, human drama will always corrupt it.
It's all meaningless.
And as a way of experiencing pure self, they use this giant ball, bouncy ball with a handle, and just it's one of the ones that you're supposed to like bounce on and ride, you know? And they just pound each other in the fucking face with it.
Yeah, it just cuts to freaking Mark going, ready.
Boom.
Like
It's
knocking
great.
him multiple
Right.
times.
And then Schwartzman gives him the balloon. He goes, okay, do it. And he hits him, and he freaking flies off the goddamn rock.
Knocks him smooth the fuck off.
It's like, not so hard, man.
You can't handle my infinite nature, can you?
Absolutely not.
Can you? Do you love me with the bonnet? So, what did you guys think of the whole overall movie? Everything together,
We're done.
all of it put together. What did you think about the movie, and would you recommend it?
Yeah, it's really great. I would definitely recommend it. Like I said in the beginning, when you get in those really dark places in your head, this is something to go to, absolutely, because it takes you there, but it's hilarious the way it does it, and it's just really great.
It's a movie you might want to skip by, but don't. It's a pretty good little ride. It's funny as hell, for one. But yeah, I feel like that's what happened. Like, I feel like I've seen scenes of this before on cable or something,
It's
and
possible.
then we just skipped it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, glad we went back and rewatched it. It's awesome.
So glad.
It's shot very straightforward. Like all the performances are weird out of context, like because they're all playing to the quirky comedic beats of
Yeah.
this story.
Yeah.
So once you set it up, you're in that world and it flows. But yeah, if you like jump into it halfway through or something, it's gonna feel odd.
Yeah, very removed from reality.
Because
A little.
yeah, a little bit. Like it's the dialogue for sure.
Yeah.
Where everything else looks so real and like standard and everyday.
Sure.
And I think that like I would definitely also recommend this movie. It's fantastic, got a fantastic cast, and I think that where it really excels is it manages to take the core concept of a person in crisis and then like all great comedy, like extrapolate the pain from that and then make that pain so relatable and a character who's dealing with it so poorly that we're able to laugh at it because we recognize the same imperfections in ourselves. And it also, not only that, but it makes you feel like it's okay. Like
Yeah.
It's more than a fart joke. is what
yeah,
I was trying to say.
exactly.
Yeah.
It really is a comedy
Like,
that
it took
looks
heart.
Yeah,
And yeah.
It
It's
just, yeah.
comedy that looks at the human condition and all its flaws and builds its comedy out of that and gives you actually a little bit of hope in the idea that like everybody's like this deep down and it takes a while to figure your shit out, but sometimes you don't figure it out till well late in life, but that's all just part of the journey.
Yep.
So like
Yeah, I really
definitely
like
recommend it.
it.
Right on, guys, thank you very much for watching.
Good night, guys.
Later.
And if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. That's more important now than ever with everything YouTube's been changing up on small YouTubers like myself. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get updates on all the dope content I'll have coming out in the future. Furthermore, guys, if you're not already following me on Instagram or Twitter, I will have the link for that in the descriptions below. And once again, thank you very much, children of the screen. Nerd Scum, out.